Hey Sean is just like it sounds. I field questions from the tribe, and they usually start the question with the words, Hey Sean. For those of you who've been following me on social media, I've answered this question before, but I feel passionate enough that I want to continue to answer these questions. So, when did I know I wanted to be in the ICU? Let's start with that question. Mine was an aha moment as a nursing student. I was in my third semester of my diploma program. Yes, yours truly, who is an NP, started his nursing career in a diploma program many, many years ago. We were in our third semester. We were going through, each of our specialties, and I was in my ICU rotation. I don't know how long the rotation was. We did clinicals, I think, 3 to 5 days a week, 4 days a week. Maybe it was 2 weeks, maybe it was 3 weeks. I remember starting the clinical rotation and just being scared out of my mind. The fast pace and how the nurses handled the doctors and the patients and the amazing diagnoses and all of the sick patients on these things called ventilators, and how these nurses are able to handle all this on top of making it look easy. Because up until that point, I thought I was going to go into orthopedics because I was an athletic trainer prior to being a nurse. So when I started this rotation, I had an interest. I was like, ooh, I like this fast pace. I love the adrenaline, and they have all the cool toys. But I had my aha moment. I think it was on one of the last days of the rotation, if not the last day. Routinely going to give a dose of IV low pressure. It's a scheduled IV low pressure for a patient, and prepping the patient, getting the IV ready. Now, when you're in nursing school, and what everyone should do when they give IV low pressure is you should give it over a 5-minute period. Usual common dose is 5 milligrams of IV low pressure, and you should give it over a course of 3 to 5 minutes. Reason for that is because you can have rebound hypotension and rebound bradycardia, so you're supposed to give IV push very slow. And I knew this ahead of time, so I prepped my meds and my flushes, and I pulled up a chair next to my patient who wasn't intubated at the time. Situated myself, put the guardrail down, started having a conversation with the patient, giving a little bit of the med each time, watching the monitor, watching the blood pressure, watching the heart rate, having a nice conversation with the patient. Little did I know that my professor, my instructor, was watching me from the hall the whole time. I was completely in my element, was having a blast giving this IV medication, watching it affect the heart rate and watching it affect the blood pressure the way it did. I can remember the aha moment, that moment that just grabs you, and I saying to myself, yep, I could do this every day. I remember not being stressed about something that is so very important, giving a vasoactive medication. Like dressing changes were more stressful to me than that episode, that task was, giving that IV medication and watching that hemodynamic change in front of my eyes because of something I did. That was my aha moment. That was when I knew I wanted to be in the ICU. And what was really cool was I had support and a confirmation of my gut feeling from my instructor. Walked out of the patient's room, and my instructor looked me in the eye and said, you were completely in the zone, weren't you, Sean? My instructor stopped me in my tracks and looked at me and said, "You need to apply for the ICU job. The ICU is where you're meant to be." Went and applied for the job. Then at the next rotation we had, I think we had one more semester or two more semesters. Made it known to all parties that I was interested in pursuing critical care nursing. Submitted my application, interviewed, and was offered the job before I graduated from nursing school. Which leads into the second portion of the question: was the ICU the first job I had as a nurse? Was it my first nursing job? And it was. I was one of the lucky few that I was a new grad in the ICU, something that was unheard of when I started nursing 13 plus years ago. Which is still up for debate, is still a stupid urban legend these days that new grads should not work in the ICU, which, if you follow me on social, you know that I think is a bunch of bullshit. So yes, I started my nursing career as a diploma grad working in the ICU and never looked back. Except for a three-month lapse in judgment and tried orthopedic nursing. Yeah, like I said, lapse in judgment. I've been in the critical care nursing world 99% of my nursing career. Caught the bug and never looked back. And here I am 13 years later as an acute care nurse practitioner working in the ICU still. So ICU was that aha moment for me, and I think that you need to have that aha moment. You need to have that moment when you say to yourself, I could do this for the rest of my life. You gotta find that area in nursing that is not a job to you, that you would have fun doing every day. For me, it was the ICU. That's my home. That's where I flourish. That's my comfort zone. It's where I have fun. What's the tribe have to say about this one? How many of us out there are ICU nurses, and when did you realize you wanted to be an ICU nurse? And how many of us out there started in the ICU? Leave me your message and I'll share it. Thanks for hanging out for the Hey Sean.